whether he feels like giving a speech or not.
No, won't be any speeches tonight.
Oh, come on.
Got, I think the first order of business would be a motion for adjournment, don't you?
I'll second that.
There's a,
I can have that German back.
that went pretty fast. Yeah, it did.
How's Evie? Let me go get Joe.
How's Mike Clark doing? Pretty good? Well, you got a knee replacement.
Oh, I tried.
He's doing good.
Doing all right? Have you seen him?
You can see if they're
No.
scheduled by going to APsports.org. The schedule should be there for all fields. We just opened up. I've had the flu too.
We got a couple.
I'm not been lucky this season.
12 more minutes. Guess we have to do them probably separately. Probably get a couple motions for one separately.
Beggar Joe. Like to have one of these.
You can have that one. Hi, Joe. How you doing, man?
How you doing?
All right.
It is what it is.
Might be at the next planning commission meeting in a couple of weeks. Mailings.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you have to have the affidavit.
Right. Didn't have that. Right, they had to have 3 ball balls. Between hard ball and soft ball. The hard ball. So we cut this all-purpose field in. Back.
You got it.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Yeah.
3-6, Jeremy.
Oh, versus,
They help right
I
there.
knew he wasn't.
Only last period, I forget what his number.
I think Democrat Party should vote for all for one, you know, and that meaning there should be, you know,
One decision.
one decision. No split. Don't let them know.
Seven of them on there now.
Is there? Who's the new two?
We got anything tonight
And
under
it was
old business or anything?
Ryan,
No old business.
JR.
We just have the new business regarding the emergency, or regarding the proposed county jail
Randy
expansion.
Abbott.
County jail expansion.
Yeah. How would you like me to read these? Because because we've got 2 findings of fact. We've got one for a use variance and one for development standards variance. And you know, in the finding of fact, I just
He was
kind
in this
of
morning,
gave it
Take
to.
them separate.
recovering well.
You think?
I don't. It depends on how you guys want to do it.
How was it written up?
It was
as
written
far-
all as kind of
Have
one.
that.
Was it?
Yeah, the finding of
Have my
fact
letter.
that they wrote kind of mix match different points for different parts of the project. Like, I believe the first 2 touch on the gravel lot and the second 2 touch on the parking space issue. But
Okay.
they're 2 separate requests.
It was, well, then we'll have to do them separate. If it was 2 separate requests. Okay. All right. It's almost 6. We only got probably everybody that's coming's here. We'll go ahead and call it 6 o'clock, and this is the March 27th meeting of the BZA for Lawrenceburg. We'll do a roll call.
Chairman Dennis Folke,
Present.
Vice Chairman Tom Rogers,
Here.
Secretary Paul Seymour,
Present.
Member Tom Ganaway,
Here.
Member Don Anderson,
Here.
Attorney Joe Johns,
Present.
Mike Clark is absent.
Okay. We have everybody but Mike here tonight, and we have
John Johnson.
John Johnson to stand in for Mike, so we have a full board. So we'll proceed. We had we didn't get a printing for January's minutes, so if we've had a chance to read January's minutes, we would need a motion to approve the January meeting
So moved.
minutes. Been a motion been made to approve the January minutes.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes approved, motion carried. And we need the same thing then for our February meeting, the February 27th meeting. You all had a chance, it was in your packet, and had a chance to read those. Are there any corrections or additions to those meetings? If not, do we have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Motion been made?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes from the February 27th meeting. Do we have anything?
Dennis, we have to, everybody approve it?
Oh, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's see, motion carried. Sorry about that. So we have a meeting, minutes from the January and February meetings approved. The next thing we would have to do would be anything from staff report or changes, additions to what we have here tonight.
Nothing additional.
Nothing additional. All right. The new business we have before us this evening is Dearborn County and American Structure Point. They have actually two variances before us this evening. We have a representative from them to begin with.
Good evening. My name is Ross Nixon. I'm a civil engineer with American Structure Point, representing the county commissioners for the jail expansion project. Familiar with the site, if you're not already. Start with the existing conditions. Everyone see this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. To start with, most of you are probably familiar with the site. We have the existing jail facility located here. It's bordered by existing asphalt parking lot on the south side that wraps around with the parking lot there along High Street. And then the area highlighted in orange is gravel currently. And this is the emergency management building here, just west of the existing jail facility. The current project is going to be located southwest of the current jail in what is now both an asphalt parking lot and a gravel parking and storage area for the. This is a proposed site plan for the project. Shows the existing jail here. North is basically up, so William Street is here on the north side and High Street is here on the south. The new plan shows the jail expansion project highlighted in blue. It's approximately 28,000 square feet of footprint. It will actually be a two-story building. We'll have a connector to the existing jail here, for security purposes. It will be bordered by a new asphalt parking lot here, which will be a reconfiguration of the existing asphalt parking lot. It also has another asphalt parking lot that will be installed here that will utilize the existing connection to High Street that currently accesses that gravel. And this is paved as well. And it has a little bit dock area, access, and similar to how they use this door to get this. So keep it back. Then this area around the emergency management building is really not considered a part of this project. It does leave an area of gravel too that's on the back side of the building. Also a small area back here. We are here today to request 2 variances and a conditionally permitted use. Since the jail facility is located in levy business zoning and it's a government use, the zoning ordinance requires a conditionally permitted use. The 2 variances are related to parking. One of them has to do with the fact that gravel is going to remain on the site, as I mentioned, mainly surrounding the emergency management building. And the main purpose for that is really just a separate project, and it also helps with our stormwater infiltration of the site. It allows for infiltration into the groundwater. The second variance has to do with the parking capacity. And since the ordinance does not specifically address the needs for jails for parking capacity, we were directed to use hospitals and what they would be required. And based upon that, we would be required to add an additional 239 parking spaces for just this jail expansion. And what we actually have provided is on site. We're going to reduce this parking lot a little bit, and we're going to pave this and stretch the spaces here. It's actually a net reduction of 13 spaces. But as a part of another project that's actually already under construction, the county is installing a parking lot by the public staff, which anyone who can use this government complex can use this new parking lot highlighted in blue here on the south side of High Street, which is in close proximity to the new. We'll add 63 parking spaces. We have a net reduction of 13, so all in all, we're going to be adding 50. And I would also like to point out that they anticipate that the jail expansion will be basically a net zero addition as far as staff goes. Staff for that facility. So we feel that 50 new parking spaces net will be more than. Be happy to answer any questions.
By removing both the buildings on High Street, you're only going to get 67 parking spots?
There are 63 parking spaces here, yes.
That's the most you can get out of both buildings?
We're not the engineer on that project. It's handled separately through the county. It's my understanding that they've tried to maximize that the best they can. And, it's in their best interest to get as many spaces as possible. So.
Okay.
Was most of that parking there, I looked at that this week, the new parking on where the buildings are being torn down and the parking added there, are there a whole lot of the, requirements going to be made there for tree planting and curbing and all additional curbing and all that in there, or are they going to use it parking? Keep it open and make it parking as opposed to,
I've seen a site plan, but I don't know the details of that project. I apologize. Jeff, do you know any more specifics on that?
I'm the same way. I knew Rizzo referred to that project. I'm going off memory, but I don't know about the tree planting, but I'm pretty sure it had some island curbs in there. But I can't say that.
there are island curbs in there?
Say that it was, every 10 spaces or
Yeah.
in between or not. I don't.
But
sorry,
they-
I didn't bring that
I believe it
detail
was
up.
paved, right?
Yeah, it was asphalt.
But I apologize. I don't know the specifics as it's a separate project.
Yeah. Down the road, does anybody have any idea what the future of that lot is?
Future of the new parking lot.
New parking lot?
I don't think they do. I've been involved in meeting for this jail planning, and there were, sorry, I'm Jeff Linus with Maxwell Construction. We're construction managers of the jail project. I've been involved since, well, I shouldn't say since day one, since we were hired as construction managers through the jail planning process. And I know there was discussion of the overall campus, but for the courthouse and everything, but nothing was discussed as a definite future of that lot. I know there's other things that, you know, long range they have thoughts on down there, but nothing specific was said that, you know,
Yeah.
we're planning this in that space, no.
I think everybody in the project, weren't they talking parking garage, but they had to cut some money back because of, you know, just financing?
For me personally, I've never heard the word parking garage over there, but that's not to say that others have put that out. But through my discussions, I've never heard that
Well,
thing.
I
But
just
again,
kinda-
they might have said that with Rizzo Engineering in their discussions or something, I don't know.
Chairman, I've heard that the prosecutor's office in the future would be moved. Your prosecutor, your judges, was there 3 judges?
Yes.
They would be moved out of the courthouse over to that area. I don't know if you've ever seen it down there, but it's
Yeah,
very crowded.
I've heard that possibility too, and there's things on the table from our QAW study that replaces the juvenile detention center, and does something with that. There's also studies that show connectors in between the 2 buildings, and there's things like that. So I think that they're looking, you know, they have no definite plans, and again, nothing that I know about is formally going to go on that site right now. I'm not going to dispute what you're saying, but I can tell you with certainty that there's no set agenda for that lot or anything else on the thing other than the jail addition at this time.
I suppose it would be possible, since it's county space, that, I mean, in your request for the gravelled area over there, I mean, if parking got to be a big issue, could that area be, be usable and be, you know, I mean,
I think
they really don't need all that area that they have there. It's kind of like extra area, and that could be utilized as
Are you talking about around the emergency management?
around emergency.
I think though, but one of the things we have to be careful with is the Homeland Security in 9/11. I know Bill Black's been in a lot of our meetings and discussions for this jail planning, and although it's easy for us to sit here and say that's a nice use for that facility, Bill Black also has to keep in mind that in case of a disaster or emergency, he's got to get his stuff out of there and his building's got to be secure. And so I'm not sure that, I mean, obviously some parking can be incorporated into that, but I'd hate to sit here and promise you that, yeah, the county could do that. I don't know that that's in their best interest, because it'd be another discussion with Bill Black and his team, because again, that building is the EMA facility, and it's fenced for a reason, and there's access around it, because he's got to pull boats and trailers out of there and get out of there in the event of an emergency. So, based on my discussions and involvement in that process, I can hear Bill Black already saying if that request came to him that he'd have some concern about getting into his building and accessing it, so.
Yeah. Well, that area is definitely, I mean, we talked about this the other night at another meeting and whatnot, but parking parking up there is a premium. And if you have to go up there during the day, you go up there at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and you got to do any business at the courthouse or the county building or whatever, parking's at a premium up there. You know, you got to know. And so I just was wondering, just questioning whether, you know, foresight as far as down the road, if, you know, you can put buildings, but then eventually you got to put parking. And I didn't know if they were long-term, if they were considering.
I think the plan, they felt the same need. You know, the county had no requirement. I know the jail project was a catalyst possibly, but
as of that point, we hadn't been to a variance hearing or anything on the parking for you guys saying we needed to do this, but I think the county went ahead and took the step to go ahead and put that parking lot in because they felt the pressure and the same need for parking. The other thing, by moving over into the old Hoosier Square building, that use also has shifted some parking requirements to the other side of the railroad track, if you will, and hopefully helped in a micro sense of the courthouse jury duty.
Yeah.
That's when it gets bad, is when they're having jury selections.
Yeah.
Is when it gets real crowded down there. And
Yeah.
so that has pulled some parking away. Now, granted, it's still crowded and stuff, but that's a move they've made in the last year that, I'm sure has had an impact, but I can't say that it's not crowded down there still, that those streets are filled, so.
Yeah.
But it is, they're aware of it and they're trying to do stuff to alleviate it.
Feel that, these projects together definitely help out that situation. For the demand for this, it's not going to be 50 additional parking spaces.
Yeah.
It'll leave a central location here to go.
Yeah, I don't think that, with the expansion of the jail, if they're not putting on, they don't intend to have to have more employees to manage that whole situation or not a significant amount, that I would think the addition of those parking spaces should help out. Because, 50 places is a pretty good addition of parking. That's a significant amount.
And also on the technology side of the new jail addition, to address some of, you guys might be saying how they're going to do a neutral jail staff type addition, but the technologies are going to be upgraded in this jail. We're going to have a central control space for those new jail people, for the new jail pods, and video visitation is going to be implemented inside the jail. Now, that's still going to mean people come into the jail, but I think the way I've understood technology, I think down the road, not immediately, there might also be some people that don't have to come indoors to have a video visitation. You can do it over the internet. I'm not saying they're going to have that from day one, but I think the technology is going to be able to do that down the road with what we're setting up now. So I think as far as this addition is concerned, it's minimal impact. It might be less down the road based on those things we're putting into the jail.
We probably need to break this down maybe in three motions here. The first one, since the jail, just to request the conditional permit use of that area for a jail itself has probably got to be dealt with as an individual request. So we probably ought to look at that first and to see where exactly how we are in that. So I don't know, Joe. Are we going to be able to break these down that way?
We can break these down into at least two. When they submitted their finding of fact, the variance for development standards were lumped together. So they lumped the fewer parking spaces issue and the gravel lot in lieu of asphalt together. So
okay.
when we wrote the fact finding,
Okay.
or the finding of fact, we used
Those two?
together. Now,
Okay.
I can read them separately,
Okay,
but I guess if you're going to make a decision, it needs to be on those two together.
okay, all right. Well, the first one then, we probably, do we have any finding of fact then for the conditional permit use as a jail? Because I guess in the code, there's no specified listing for jail permit for that land. So we need they're asking for a variance to permit that land for jail use. That would be the first one. So, do we have a finding of fact for that, or is that,
We have a finding of fact for that, yes.
okay. Is there, do we have a motion then to request that, or are there any questions of these folks first?
So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion for finding of fact reading on the conditional use of the land for jail purposes. We have a motion for that. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded for finding of fact for the conditional use of the property.
The grant not be.
I guess we have
You need
to,
to
all in
vote.
favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, all right.
The grant not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because the project will maintain the existing use of the site as it is a public building. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because the proposed project will maintain the same use of public building and law enforcement center. The need for the variance arises from some condition particular to the property involved because the proposed building is a public building and falls within the City of Lawrenceburg's Levy Business District and will require a variance allowing conditionally permitted use. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought because the strict application of the ordinance would prohibit the existing law enforcement center from expanding and updating the facilities on their current site. The approval of this application for variance does not substantially interfere with the city's comprehensive plan. The approval of this application for variance is not based upon legally existing non-conforming uses in the same zoning district nor permitted uses in other districts.
Okay, we have a reading of the finding of fact. Is there a motion to accept the finding of fact?
Offer motion to accept the findings of facts.
Or second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to accept the finding of fact. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Now, that being done, is there a motion to approve the variance appeal? And that is to approve the conditional use of the property for the jail.
So moved.
Motion's been made to approve the variance appeal. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded for that approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, then the next two are, legal counsel says have been put together and in the finding of fact, and that is, one is a request to remain gravel in the unused portion, and the second is to provide fewer parking places than their comparison of hospital parking required them to look at, because they had no other model to look at, so they were told to look at that. And obviously, a hospital with visitation and whatnot requires a lot more parking than would be at a jail facility. So, that being said, is there a motion to read the finding of fact for those variances?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to read finding of fact. Is there, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried to read finding of fact.
The grant not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because, and this is as to the request to maintain a gravel parking area in lieu of asphalt. The existing parking area of the emergency management building is a gravel lot. The proposed plan will reduce the gravel lot size. This portion is in reference to the fewer parking spaces. The proposed jail expansion plan will reduce the amount of available parking spaces in front of the jail. However, Dearborn County, in a separate project, is creating a larger parking lot across the street. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because, and again, this is regarding the gravel lot. The gravel lot will be reduced in size and will be less visible to the public. This is in regards to the parking spaces. The reduction in the parking spaces will be offset by a separate county project on High Street. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because, and again, this is to the gravel lot, the proposed lot for the emergency management building is currently gravelled. Now, this is in reference to the parking spaces. The zoning ordinance do not specifically list required parking for jail facilities. Therefore, the project has had to use zoning codes designed for hospitals. This has resulted in more required spaces than needed for the project. Any variance requested represents the smallest deviation possible because, this is in regards to the gravel lot, the proposed project will reduce the size of the currently existing gravel lot. This is in regards to the parking spaces. Due to the site constraints in the proposed on-site parking area, they've been maximized. Additional spaces will be provided in a separate county project on High Street. The approval of the variance request is not based on legally existing nonconformities of a similar nature in the same zoning district nor regulations in other zoning districts.
Okay. Finding of fact's been read. Is there a motion to accept the finding of fact?
So move.
Motion's been made to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to accept the finding of fact. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. That being done, do we have a motion to approve the variances as appealed?
So move.
Motion's been made to accept the variances as their appeal. Is there a second on that?
I second it.
Motion been made and seconded to accept those variances. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that is all, gentlemen, that we have for new business this evening. Is there any comment or anything that we have from the audience at all? That procedure? Next agenda would be old business, and we have none that I'm aware of.
Just gonna get signatures on the forms he's got up there.
Yes. Okay,
That'd be about it.
and that should do it for this evening.
Could I speak
Yeah.
real quickly? I'm sorry, I didn't jump up fast enough. Terry Randall, County Administrator for the county. I'd like to thank the board for your support of this project. I know it doesn't fit into the right box, and we appreciate your support. And as for the gravel lot for the EMA, we are actually looking at hoping to be able to go ahead and blacktop that as well, depending on where monies fall. But we appreciate the variance and just your support of the project.
Well, I don't know that the gravel issues is such a thing. We talked about that in planning as far as, it kind of makes it look like you're not supposed to be over there, and I think, and for the time being now, it's kind of good that it looks like that's kind of off limits, and when that's staying gravel, and again, as far as the water being able to percolate down through the soil there and not create another runoff problem and everything, and for the time being, I think I don't see that creates a problem. I think with the new parking across the street and the additions there, that'll be a definite improvement to help to alleviate some situations that are down there, and it'll all work out, so.
Thank you, and I think you'll be pleased with the new parking as well. We plan to have it well landscaped, and we've met all the requirements with the number of trees for parking spaces, et cetera, and that's all been budgeted. So it'll be a nice parking area for the city.
Ma'am?
Thank you very much.
Excuse me. Make sure those little trees and bushes, because our parking lots down here, they're void of trees, and bushes. So I hope you, no matter what, put the bushes and the trees, and not just a stark parking lot.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
You need your signatures.
Okay.
So we have 2 signatures.
I need to get these guys to
Yeah.
do that. Two different ones. Need some signatures on here, guys.
Right here. I think you actually have the wrong one. We need a signature on that one.
Are there separate ones?
Yeah, well,
Joe?
there's the variance use and then the variance development standards. Just have them sign both, I'll tell you which ones are.
Okay, if there's no further business and there's no old business, we could take a motion for adjournment.
Motion, we stand adjourned. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
That was quick. All-time record.
You bet, my friend.
You know,
I'm gonna
those,
stop by to get
those,
that.
we're not